Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HashQuest, and Advanced Space Crusade is the ultimate struggle for the fate of mankind. A game created in 1990 by Games Workshop, Advanced Space Crusade, complete with 3D roleplay, is a complete adventure game for 2 or more players aged 14 to adult, and essentially is the Space Crusade analog to Advanced HeroQuest. The stunning artwork on the cover of the box clues us in to the setting of the game and the contents therein. You will command a chapter of Space Marines fighting deep in the dungeons, which are actually Tyranid bioships, against an ever-encroaching army of fearsome Tyranid warriors. If a child standing in the store were to question whether or not this game was for them, they would be able to flip the box over and read about the Space Marine Scouts, the figures that make up the heroic forces in the game, as well as the Tyranids themselves, a force not seen in the regular Space Crusade game, but an extremely dangerous addition, although we do see their precursor, the Gene Stealers, themselves a terrifying force to be reckoned with. This is the only place that you'll find the contents of this box listed. Finally, the explanation of Advanced Space Crusade. Recreate the ultimate struggle between the noble defenders of humanity and the alien hordes of the Tyranids. Board the immense living bioconstruct ships of Hive Fleet Kraken. Explore the intestinal labyrinths within, and do battle with the terrifying warriors of the Hive Mind. Advanced Space Crusade has been designed so that collectors of Citadel miniatures can use the Warhammer 40k models they already own, of course. For example, the Marine player's force can include Imperial Guard troopers, Space Marines, and/or Terminators. The Tyranid player can use any of the monstrous bioconstructed creatures, such as Gene Stealers, Zotes, and indeed the whole host of Tyranid models from Citadel miniatures. Great, we have another miniatures collection project to pursue. The Advanced Space Crusade game boards jigsaw together in a variety of layouts to represent the innards of a huge Tyranid spacecraft. One configuration is seen here. One player will control the Space Marine Scouts, who will explore the living vessel, penetrate its most important organs, and attempt to destroy the entire ship by sabotaging vital organic devices. The attacking forces must be chosen and deployed with extreme care. Recon squads lead the way through slime-coated passages, constantly at risk from Tyranid ambushes. Behind them come the assault forces, hopefully ready to deal with whatever defenses await. The other player represents the Tyranids, who must try to stop the Scouts by deploying Tyranid warriors from the defense of one part of the ship to another, laying and slaying the Scouts if they can. Great cunning must be used to avoid spreading the defense too thin or concentrating it too tightly. Either way can spell defeat. Ship exploration is handled by an ingenious system of encounter cards, evoking the tension of hunting through the bewildering interior of a Tyranid vessel, as well as ensuring that no two games are ever quite the same. This is a rather tall box. It is matched in size by Advanced HeroQuest and Mighty Empires, and doubtless many other games from this same era. We have some suggestions on how to paint and/or chapterize your forces, both the good and the bad, and we learn that there are different Tyranid colorings based on the Norn Queen pattern, which appears on all the creatures which it produces, changing with the warrior's general coloring, which in turn alters with age. Fully grown warriors basically being bright red with pale yellow bony plates and blue markings. Then we have some practical examples of exactly how to paint these miniatures before moving on, as well as a beautiful diorama of all of the 40k miniatures that you might want to include in your Space Crusade. Right. Nothing on the underside of the lid, as usual. I'm destined for disappointment every time. I noted the tallness of the box because it might come as somewhat of a disappointment that there's not a whole lot inside the box. This isn't just my copy. My copy is complete, although I did have the foresight to remove the miniatures before inverting the box so as to avoid breakage. I already had enough of that. This was purchased secondhand, of course, perhaps all too obviously, with the miniatures already assembled and glued. The Tyranids did not all survive the trip unscathed, and some of their limbs had to be glued back on, with one more casualty. The Space Marine Scouts were mostly intact, with just minimal damage, and I was able to quickly supplement my forces by buying a 5-member squadron off of eBay to include with this set. I don't have an arm to give this scout, so I may put him to rest. Wait, no. I do have an arm. Oh no, he's being taken over! No, this arm's gotta go on the Tyranid, to whom it belongs. We've only got 2 types of Tyranid. We've got 4 of one type and 2 of another. but we'll get to that soon enough. I also want to point out that unlike the original Space Crusade heroes, these guys aren't swappable with their weapons. They're not really customizable in that regard when you start the game. I may have undersold the amount of scouts that actually come with this box. It's a sizable amount, although I did buy another 5 just to make sure I had replacements and repairs for the ones that I was actually missing. It may seem a bit disproportionate at first glance. You've only got 6 of these Tyranid warriors, but it looks like it's going to be an unfair fight anyway, with the Tyranids taking out all of the scouts. Look at the massive difference in size. You can't tell me that there's not going to be casualties. In a way that's kind of similar to Advanced HeroQuest, we have a selection of these hero types, a big number of a generic hero type, and then we just have like 1 enemy type, really. Although I guess we have technically 2. As somebody who loves variations in miniatures and lots of different sculpts for all kinds of different possibilities, this sort of thing would definitely have disappointed me just a little bit as a kid, you know, before it fully set in how awesome it is. Whereas a game like the normal Space Crusade would have pleased me greatly, as it would still today, because it has a lot of sculpts. Our manual is beefy. Advanced is no joke. We have 60 pages front to back of rules and lore to learn before being able to deploy our first agents, our first scouts, into the bowels of a Tyranid bioconstruct. The rest of the contents are beautiful 90s cardboard and plastic. Beautiful, beautiful cardboard and plastic. Organs represented by these tiles. It's crazy to me that they are actually representing organs here. Like, you will be going into a Tyranid ship, which is a living, breathing organism, and it is the dungeon that you are playing through, and your objective is to destroy these organs, which function as the things that it all too much makes sense keep the ship going and alive. So yeah, it stands to reason destroying these organs is what's going to take the entire ship down, allowing you to flee into space, mitigating the threat of the Tyranids. Today, at first glance, it seems like this game comes with a lot of tokens. Chits, tokens, counters, let's use these terms interchangeably. Sometimes I'll even call them tiles if they go on the board. We've got our 2 D12, which are going to be used to make all of the decisions in the game, or, well, to determine the success of those decisions, the outcomes. Counters I don't mind in Space Crusade, because Space Crusade, remember, is a game of blips. It is a game of placing things and then going to where that thing is in order to fully reveal it and replace that counter with a miniature, and this is not much different in that regard. We have the entire alphabet, almost, with all of the Tyranids, numbered tiles, and some blips with some orky warriors on them, although there are no orcs in this box. We have what I think is a hit and miss chart, area of effect, and various other counters that will illustrate the Overwatch status, something that I believe carried on into Space Hulk, or perhaps was carried over from Space Hulk. Space Hulk is a future unboxing. I can promise you this is my ambition. I don't have Space Hulk, but for those who have played Space Hulk and Advanced Space Crusade, I have to ask, which one did you prefer out of the box? No expansions, no additions. Which one is the better game to you? We have the Space Marine Strategic Display, which gives us our left flank, right flank, perimeter, core, recon squad, assault force, and reserves. This is going to help you manage your forces as you deploy them into the bowels of the Tyranid ship. Then we have the Tyranid Hive Network. Left flank, center, right flank, ambush, first wave, second wave, max 3 blips, 10 blips, 10 blips. Hive, any number of blips. Force deployment, I think, is the name of the game here. We have our massive tiles that are modular. I honestly love this. OG Space Crusade is already set up this way. You have large tiles that can be configured in a number of different ways, then the walls that are applied to the mission so that you get a true sense of how many variations of these configurations you actually have. This is about the same thing, but we don't have the wall 3D overlays to place over the boards. Instead, we just have these different boards which do not actually fit together in any orientation, just any orientation, which is perfectly fine because you have the jigsaw cutout as a single on 2 of the edges, the opposing edges, and then on the perpendicular edges, you have them as doubles. Now, don't let this stop you. You could absolutely still do something like this. And now we have lost the ability to place anything down there in the corner. But I don't think that placing the tiles in that way is legal for the game. We'll have to go through the book and look at the scenarios to double check that. But you can kind of see the illustrated, only single-sided tiles, and the network of the ship. This is a really cool piece of art. Kind of no matter how you slice it. We have veins running through the floors. That is our stonework pattern. We have very, very narrow doorways. And yes, we do have doors, cleverly hiding as a bag of tiles in the box earlier. Our doors are cardboard standees on tiles. Excuse me, one tile big convention. They're going to go over your door spaces. When you open them, they will be removed, and that's that. They look questionable. They are on stands. But yes, after you remove them, they are gone. And then these very narrow to very wide, for indeed the entrances and exits between rooms do have a variation in their width, do actually serve a purpose because there is a line of sight mechanism. This game features a lot of ranged combat for both the hero players and the Tyranid alien players. This guy is so front heavy, he keeps just falling forward. Something about his particular putted togetherness is just, I wouldn't probably have done it quite the exact same way. Line of sight, straight line. In many cases, it's this width of the opening that is going to cause a shot to be illegal or impossible because of the encroachment into the tile. So that adds a layer of strategy that is not present in hardly any other game. You'll have to let me know if that piece of strategy is prevalent in Space Hulk. We'll continue looking at all of the boards, and yeah, we have a lot of different variations here. This actually looks like it's the same layout. It is almost completely the same. We just have differing widths for our room and corridor easements, and we have a little bit of a different pattern configuration over here. Different enough to be significant though. The tiles boards are numbered in the corners, so when you are referring to a set of instructions on how to build a specific scenario, you'll know exactly where everything is supposed to go. Kind of wondered if these look so similar, do any of the other tiles look very similar? And yeah, these tiles actually, they're just mirror images of each other, aren't they? That's all they are. They were flipped in the image program or what have you, and this is what we've ended up with. Very easy to make boards in this fashion. I will say it's fine though, because this is an organic ship, so it does stand to reason that it would have a pair of something. Like this could be a pair of lungs, or I suppose we could set it up like this. Yeah, or it could be a pair of kidneys or a pair of bladders. Let's just move on from this, shall we? This one's fairly bisected by default, and then this one's just a big old gastrointestinal nightmare. Actually love it. Love that the setting is extremely different from normal Space Crusade as well. It does make it a little bit harder to take these components and kind of mix them all together, but I like it anyway. We've got our Space Marine entry points, which will fit up against the edge of whatever board and provide your heroes a way to start the mission. And yeah, we have a how convenient coincidental lineup points on every board, north and south. We had a few other things masquerading as tiles in the box, and I'm going to call them out right now because the first step in avoiding a gene stealer takeover is to notice the signs, and the signs are, these are actually tiny little boards. They are tiny versions of the boards that we have, and these are meant to be used by our Tyranid player, who will then be able to track their own movements, I believe, in secret. I have to do a little bit of reading, but isn't this just the neatest thing? Aren't these like oddly cute? Certainly there has to be some kind of way to utilize this system to play the game solo, and I'm actually not sure if there are solo rules. We'll have to look into that, but that I thought was just so cool to see, and I wonder how come I've never seen other games kind of utilizing this as a tool to create the fog of war or the secret planning of another player. I read the game was supposed to come with event cards, and I was quite alarmed when I didn't find any in my box. I thought, oh well, I guess it's just incomplete. That's what I get. What is this bag of tiles? Imagine my delight and bewilderment when I learned that these tiles are actually the event cards. Yeah, that's right. This is a deck of cards. They're tiled, but they'll work. Now, I have to wonder, why? Why this format for this? Are these supposed to fit somewhere, line up with something? They're too easy to drop. That's my only complaint. They are also kind of small, but I can read that from here with no problem. The passage leads further into the hive ship. Place this card in the discard pile. If the recon squad are scouts, and this is the first passage card turned over this turn, you may turn over the next card. Trap. You've walked into a trap. Leave the card face up on top of the deck. Next phase, you'll have to roll on the trap's table to see what effects the trap has, then discard the card. The trap only affects the recon squad. Stranger, you've released a Tyranid captive from a pod. Leave the card face up. Next phase, you'll have to roll on the stranger's table to see who you've encountered, then discard the card. I like that method of doing things. I like that set of instructions. I like these. I don't know if I would like them every time for every game, but there is a charm to encountering them for the first time. I suppose I'll show you the other cards, although, man, we might have a couple of duplicates with Passage and Trap. We've also got Duct and Blocked Passage, Ambush, Artifact. You've discovered an artifact abandoned by the Tyranids. Either roll for the artifact on the artifact's table next turn and discard the card, or remove the card and keep it to one side until you do roll. Stranger, Passage, 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 Ambush, Trap, Passage, Energy Cortex, Teleporter, Nexus. Capturing or destroying this organ will stop the Tyranids from swiftly moving their forces around the ship. This is a secondary objective. Energy Cortex is a primary objective. You've reached the Hive ship's main source of power, a huge pulsing organ at the heart of the vessel. Hive Mind Synapse. If the Hive Mind Synapse falls into your hands, you'll weaken the Tyranid's ability to respond to your assault. This is the secondary objective. Here's a primary objective, the Respiratory Vent. You found the vital respiratory organ that produces a breathable atmosphere within the Hive ship. The Sensory Cluster is a primary objective. You discovered the convoluted organ that allows the Hive ship to navigate through real space and the warp. And finally, the Dermal Sphincter. Last but not least, am I right? The sphincter opens into space. Capturing it will let you bring reinforcements from your own starship. This is the secondary objective. Insert your own space toilet humor here. I won't stop you. Comment your toilet humor down in the comments below. Let's take this video where no other Advanced Space Crusade video has gone before. We've looked at all of the components. It's time to do a little bit of light reading. In the 41st millennium, the rule of humanity encompasses almost the entire galaxy, a glittering circle of stars 90,000 years from rim to rim. This is the Imperium of Man, the largest and most populous empire of all time, an empire of more than 1 million worlds and untold billions of human beings. The Imperium is ruled by the ancient and immeasurably powerful Emperor. Once he was a living man, but he has long since ceased to live in any normal sense. His body is dead, yet for 10,000 years the Emperor has controlled the destiny of the Imperium, thanks to a complex life support system which preserves his spirit. His wishes are enacted by means of the Adeptus Administratum, a colossal bureaucratic organization based upon Earth but with the authority and means to rule the entire galaxy. The Space Marines stand ready to combat any threat to the Imperium. They are humanity's finest warriors, bio-adapted to survive on the toughest battlefields, trained as the ultimate fighting men, equipped with the most advanced power armor and the most potent armament from the weapon shops of Mars. In 10,000 years of battle, the Space Marines have served humanity well, so that today, despite the relentless pressure of hostile foes, mankind thrives under the beneficent rule of the Emperor and the vigilance of the Space Marines. Beyond the human galaxy, beyond the range of human spacecraft and astrotelepathy, lies the unspeakable cold void of intergalactic space. This is a realm into which few men have ventured and from which no one has ever returned. It is the great barrier which divides galaxy from galaxy, yet the void is not empty, though it moves in intelligence, Through it moves an intelligence, a great creature that is formed from countless billions of creatures, a mind that is many interlinked minds. This entity, this race, is the Tyranid Hive Mind, and it has come from a galaxy unimaginably distant. Now, its advanced forces have reached the Imperium, and the fate of mankind and every living thing in the galaxy hangs in the balance. The amount of lore and simply reading of the explanations of the Tyranid warriors, the advance of the Tyranids, the Space Marines, it takes up so much. And yet so little, because right about here is when the lore stops. We get the how to play, how to use this rulebook, the models, then the assaults, choosing your forces, the force roster, deploying your forces, which explains the exploration cards, the blips, the squad counters, initial Tyranid deployment, setting up your first game for the Space Marine player and the Tyranid player, beginning the assault, exploring the ship. Space Marine deployment and exploration is covered here. Encounters, Tyranid deployment, reinforcements, Tyranid starships, where we have another page of lore here. And then we get back to relevancy within the mechanics of the game inside the Tyranid ship, Tyranid ship board sections, doors. We've been talking about doors, but the passageways are actually called portals after you have removed the doors. They are muscular valves that constantly dilate and contract without ever actually closing, used by the hive mind to regulate the flow of fluids and gases. The Space Marines and Tyranids can move and shoot through them as they battle inside the ship. And please excuse my earlier error. Doors are actually used to traverse between boards, and the door is moved to one side to show that a passage is clear. If the door is destroyed, remove it entirely, as it obviously can't be shut again. So, I was wrong. I assumed earlier, which I would argue in my defense, it was reasonable to assume door go between room, but that's not the case here. Door go between board, and it's not going to look like the sphincter-like passageways. We have our join up here, our linkage here, and then the door goes here, and the door can actually be moved to the side when it is open. That does not mean it's destroyed. That implies to me that the doors can be closed again. Okay, this is already advanced. This is already too much for my tiny man brain, pre-Space Marine era, to handle, to comprehend. More secure than portals are the huge fleshy sphincter doors that separate different parts of the ship. In many parts of the ship, there are large cysts growing from the floor. These are the openings to the Tyranid's teleporter system. Tyranids do not use a mechanical teleport system like the Imperium, but travel by means of the teleporter worm, a bioconstruct that has the main part of its body in the warp and only the ends of its many hollow feelers in real space. These feelers attach themselves to different parts of the hive ship, and a cyst grows where they burst through. Tyranids can enter these cysts and pass through the hollow tubes. Because both the Tyranids and the worm are part of the hive mind, the Tyranids can direct their movement through the worm's body in the warp to reappear at another point in the hive ship. So this is our little trapdoor tile, the cyst counter, and yes, we do have those. Here they are, one-sided counters, just like so. That's got to be painful when those things rupture. We then go on to cover battles, the board, available forces, the hidden setup, and this has to do with the tiny boards that we saw. When a Space Marine force enters the bowels of a Tyranid hive ship, it has little idea of exactly what it's going to meet. Long-range scanning can sometimes give the Space Marines a rough idea of the layout of the hive ship and the approximate location of its main elements, but this information is imprecise at best, completely wrong and misleading at worst. The only way that the Space Marines can accumulate really sound information is by exploring the ship. To represent this, as the Tyranid player, you design a secret map of the battle, known as the Hidden Setup Map. The Space Marine player has no idea how you've set up the map or where he's entering, and the map is kept secret from him throughout the battle. This means he has to explore in order to find a way through to his objective. Designing the Hidden Setup Map is a combination of random selection and your decision. Each board section has a corresponding hidden setup tile, a smaller version of the board section. To make sure there's no confusion about which is which, the hidden setup tile has a number in the corner which matches the number on the correct board section. The description for each encounter tells you which hidden setup tiles you use. Okay, so before we go any further with that, I need to understand something. These are the encounters. There are two sorts of encounter card: primary objectives, secondary objectives, and ambushes usually lead to battles. Traps, artifacts, and strangers are dealt with by rolling d12 and referring to the appropriate tables later in this section. So the energy cortex, sensory cluster, respiratory vent, these actually tell you how to set up the encounter. It tells you for the energy cortex primary objective, for example, board sections 1 to 6. Objective marker, energy cortex, which is objective marker 3, located on board section 2. Initial Space Marine forces, all the squads from the recon and assault force boxes. Initial Tyranid forces, any blips from the first and second wave boxes. Teleporter cysts, 2 cysts set up anywhere except the Space Marine entry points and the first board section. We have special rules, and then it goes right into the sensory cluster. So are these basically like our Warhammer quest? Kind of seems like that's how it is. To make a scenario, you just need basically 2 or 3 paragraphs. You need like a stat block and a paragraph, and that's it. Because if I'm not mistaken, that is everything we have for the missions necessarily in here. Okay, so that means we just don't use like a quest book setup, really. We have our layout of these, and that's going to drive the Tyranid player. So you set these up, and then the Space Marines are exploring, and you're setting the boards down according to how you have set these up beforehand in secret. Anybody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, just tear me to shreds, but that's my understanding just by skimming the material. I think that that's really cool. by the way. Ambush. Ahead of their main defensive lines in the winding passages and tunnels of the Hive ship, the Tyranid defenders set up ambushes, hoping to catch the Space Marine recon squads off guard. A small force conceals itself in the passages around an open chamber. When the Space Marines enter the chamber, the ambushers open fire and move in for the kill. And this is its own encounter. Teleporter Nexus is the name of an encounter. Sensory Cluster is the name of an encounter. But then Ambush is its own encounter. And then this is specifically how it's set up for maximum ambushage. On the next few pages, we have our tables. This is the trap table, and it's pretty big. Look at that. If you roll an 8, that's Gene Stealer. A powerful claw reaches up through a crevice in the floor and pulls one member of the recon squad through. The model has to fight the Stealer in close combat. Its close combat roll is 3d plus 5. If the model survives, he can easily climb out to rejoin his squad. You have things in this body trying to constantly digest you. The digester macrobes have their own micro table to roll on. We then get the artifacts table, the strangers table. The artifacts table includes teleporter, an assassinator, a warp tunnel, a hollow projector, a combi weapon, a daemon gate. For strangers, we've got squats, eldars, imperial guardsmen, ogrins, space marines, and inquisitors. As soon as the stranger takes a shot or makes a close combat roll again on the following table. This kind of gives you the attitude for the specific character that has been generated. While in the pod, the stranger has been infested with the larva of a Tyranid bioconstruct. If the model is hit, roll another d12 and consult the table below to see what effects the hit has depending on what sort of bioconstruct larva have entered the stranger's body. That is so cool. There's so much opportunity for roleplay there. Although, if you really want to be immersive and have all the models needed to represent the strangers in the game, you're going to need a squat, an Eldar, an Imperial Guardsman, an Ogrin, a Space Marine, and an Inquisitor. That is so cool. There are game variants using the Space Hulk blips, so this is how you can incorporate material from your original Space Hulk game, and you can also use Deathwing or Gene Stealer, which were the expansions for the first edition of Space Hulk. You can add the models and blips to your advanced Space Crusade games. The Space Marine force list includes Terminators, so it's a simple matter to add Terminator squads to the Space Marine side. You can add more pure strain Gene Stealers and Gene Stealer hybrids in the Tyranid force, and there are instructions on how to add these specific blips. You can use Space Hulk floor plans. Deathwing includes the Space Hulk Geo tiles. These are very similar to the hidden setup tiles in Advanced Space Crusade and can be used to allow you to recreate an assault on a Space Hulk using the Space Hulk floor plans instead of the Hive shipboard sections from Advanced Space Crusade. That's so cool. It's too bad Deathwing is so expensive on the secondhand market. Using geotiles in Advanced Space Crusade has its own little section, and then we have primary and secondary objectives, Space Marine entry points, revealing new geotiles, ambushes, and expanding the game. We have other game variants. Advanced Space Crusade has been designed to be as flexible as possible. I believe it. Over the following months, we'll be publishing new rules for the game, and there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't come up with new rules yourself. Here are just a few possibilities. Other Citadel miniatures. You can include any Warhammer 40k minis in your collection. Yeah, we all knew that was coming. Chaos Assaults. As an example of fighting with different forces, you can launch an assault by Chaos Space Marines. This is one of the easiest to handle because Chaos Space Marines have very similar characteristics to Imperial Space Marines. Use the Space Marine force list to pick your army as normal, but use Chaos models. In addition, you can include the Chaos Dreadnought and Chaos Android models from Milton Bradley Games' Space Crusade. Love that. The Chaos Dreadnought is an armored fighting suit control. We already know that. You could also add Chaos Cultists. They exist on many planets. Where would you get them? I guess you have to get them from just 40k packs, basically. At this point in time, the Chaos Androids are still not yet Necrons. They are robot fighting machines whose servo mechanisms are actually possessed by a Chaos Daemon. The Daemon controls the android body, enabling it to move and fight as if it were a living creature. That's right, they weren't Necrons, actually, yet anyway. I believe the concept for the Chaos Androids was replaced entirely by just Necrons, so that's what they are now. But if Chaos Androids still exist in contemporary 40k, or if they existed at the same time, if they coexisted in any literature or any specific game, let me know. I'd be interested in knowing. If you prefer battles to exploring, or if you've only got an hour or so for a game, there's no reason not to use the maps and models to fight head-to-head counters. Pick a points value for the game and select your models using the force lists. That's what the force lists are for. We have different numbers of force points, how to handle that, new cards. The cards-based exploration system is easily expandable, sure, if you say so. We don't have the space to list all the things you can try, so experiment and enjoy yourself. I beg to differ. You have a lot of space, and you fill it with all kinds of stuff. There's lore about the bolt guns. It's just explaining what they are. It's not even really... The flamer chemical sticks to it and continues to burn, making it very difficult to extinguish. There's no stat table. It's just, here's what is a flamer. Here's the science behind it. And don't get me wrong, I love that. But you have the room. You can do whatever you want. You're already doing whatever you want. Ooh, can we put doors in the sphincters? I guess I didn't realize that that could be a thing. Plasma gun. Close combat weapons. Grenades. Here is the blind template for the grenade. We also have a grenade counter. We have all kinds of grenades. There's frag grenades, blind grenades, melta-bombs. Melta-bombs. I can just hear the little British kids. Spitter. Bone sword. Bone sword. This is like the broadsword, but it's the bone sword. Oh, use my bone sword. Boy, that doesn't carry this. That doesn't age as well. The flesh borer, and then we have armies and enemies of the Imperium. This goes on to explain Space Marine heroes, little name drop to White Dwarf magazine, fate points, librarians and psi points, Space Marines, Space Marine Scouts, Terminator Space Marines, Squats, Eldar, Ogrins, and then different types of Tyranids that you could implement into your game if you got the models for it. The Great Tyranid Norn Queens, the Bioconstructs, the Gene Stealers, the Zotes, the Hunter Slayers, the Grabber Slashers. Hate those guys. It looks like something out of the, his name Alvin Schwartz, the writer for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's almost exactly the kind of art that is, just without the ink blowing method. Mind Slaves. And we even go to the very end to explain Orcs, Gretchen, and Chaos Space Marines. This is the very end of the book, still just using every square centimeter possible to explain these additional monsters and models that you can bring into your game. Love that. That, more or less, is Advanced Space Crusade. I didn't see any heroic rules for solo play. I would love your suggestions on if there are any solo rules out there, and your memories or specific experiences in playing this, perhaps in combination with Space Crusade. What are some homebrew things that you've come up with? Have you incorporated missions from this, or battles from this, I should say, with the mission system from Space Crusade? Have you hopped back and forth, carried stats over, anything like that? This absolutely fascinates me, and there's something about this that just makes me want to homebrew the heck out of a space system and bring the two games really, truly together. But either way, I'm kind of thankful, and I'm also kind of sad that this didn't come... Wait, where are the force lists? Hold on a second. Oh, okay. I was about to say I'm a little bit sad that we didn't have like an official reference, like what comes in Advanced HeroQuest that kind of lists off the different models and names of creatures that you can bring in. But they're here. They've kind of already talked about it in other places in the book. So like Zote, Hunter Slayer, Tyranid Warrior, Pure Strength, Gene Stealer, we know about that. Orc, Gretchen, Chaos Marine Commander, Chaos Space Marine. The happy thing about this is if you have Space Hulk, then you're going to have the Gene Stealers. If you have Space Crusade, which you're more likely to have, I feel, in going to Advanced Space Crusade, then you're going to have Gene Stealers, Orcs, Gretchen, Chaos Space Marines. You're going to have a lot of different models to bring in. So most of this is going to be filled out, meaning this is kind of less of a huge quest to collect everything that could be compatible with the most advanced version of Advanced Space Crusade. But that's about it. I would love to know kind of your thoughts on where you could see incorporations of this game going. Will it Space Crusade? Something like that. A video that shows both in action, perhaps, boards all laid out, a diorama of a battle going on, a dramatization of a story, perhaps something official recreated. That's all from me, from now, for now. Brave Space Marine Scouts. Are you a Space Marine Scout, or are you more like an Orky boy? Tag yourself in the comments below yet again, and I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, I bid you farewell for now.